Have you ever wondered why some people seem to turn every defeat into victory while you're still afraid of failure? Today you'll discover how history's most powerful minds have used failure as their greatest teacher, and how you can do exactly the same starting right now. The fear of failure is the invisible chain keeping you tied to a mediocre life. But today, all that's going to change. Because we're going to unlock the secrets Napoleon Hill discovered after studying the brightest minds for over 25 years. The same strategies that have created millionaires, leaders, and extraordinary people. These techniques will forever transform your relationship with failure. Pay attention, because what you're about to hear might be exactly what you need to make that quantum leap in your life. The first step to turning failure into your teacher is understanding that every setback contains the seed of an equivalent benefit. Napoleon Hill discovered that the most successful people don't see failure as an end, but as valuable information, crucial data for their next attempt. Think about it this way. Edison failed more than 10,000 times before creating the light bulb. When asked about his failures, he responded, "I have not failed 10,000 times, I've found 10,000 ways that don't work." That mindset, that reframing of failure, is what separates the great from the mediocre. But most people live terrified of the idea of making mistakes. They become paralyzed, stagnant, and never come to discover their true potential. Have you noticed how many times you've avoided trying something new just because you were afraid to fail? How many opportunities have you let pass by because the possibility of failure terrified you? Napoleon Hill stated that every adversity, every failure, and every heartache carries with it the seed of an equivalent or greater benefit. But the question is, are you looking for that seed, or are you only focusing on the pain of failure? Do this exercise right now. Think about your last major failure. Now, instead of remembering the frustration or embarrassment, ask yourself, what did I learn from this experience? What skills did I develop? What strengths did I discover in myself that I didn't know I had? When you change the questions, you change your focus. And when you change your focus, you transform your life. If you're still not convinced, let me tell you something. The most successful people in the world have one thing in common. They've failed more times than the average person has even tried. Failure isn't your enemy. It's your most honest teacher. It won't tell you what you want to hear, but what you need to know. If you want extraordinary results, you need to start seeing every failure as a necessary step toward your goal. As Hill said, persistence is to the character of man as carbon is to steel. It's in moments of greatest adversity when your true character is forged. Remember this every morning. I am grateful for every obstacle because it brings me closer to my greatness. Repeat it out loud. I am grateful for every obstacle because it brings me closer to my greatness. When you internalize this truth, fear loses its power over you. By the way, if you're getting value from this content, make sure to like and subscribe right now. Every week I share strategies like these that have transformed thousands of people's lives. Don't miss out. And that's what we'll talk about in the next point, because there's a crucial element you must understand if you want to master the art of learning from failure. The second principle for mastering failure is understanding that fear is simply a creation of your mind. Napoleon Hill called it the ghost of fear, and discovered that this ghost disappears when you confront it directly. The fear of failure doesn't exist in the external world. It exists only in your mind. And what exists in your mind can be controlled by you. Hill identified 6 basic fears that paralyze most people. The fear of poverty, criticism, ill health, loss of love, old age, and death. But the most paralyzing of all is the fear of failure, because it prevents you from even starting. Have you ever wondered why some people can face the same rejection as you, but keep moving forward as if nothing had happened? It's because they've trained their minds to see failure correctly, not as a judgment on their personal worth, but as data to improve. Napoleon Hill said, "The mind that opens to a new idea never returns to its original size." Every time you face a fear, your mental capacity expands. And when your mind expands, the possibilities in your life multiply. Think about this. What's the worst that could happen if you fail? Is it really as terrible as your mind imagines? Most of the time, you'll discover that the catastrophic scenario your mind has created is pure fantasy. Do this exercise. Take your biggest fear of failure and follow it to its logical conclusion. Ask yourself, and what would happen next? And after that? And then what? Continue asking until you reach the very bottom. Almost always you'll discover that you could survive even the worst possible scenario. And once you know you can handle the worst, what's stopping you? To truly convert fear into power, you must understand that it's natural to feel fear. It's not the absence of fear that defines the brave, but the ability to act despite fear. As Hill said, courage is not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. The most effective strategy to overcome fear of failure is gradual exposure. Don't try to scale the Everest of your fears all at once. Start with small steps. If you're afraid of public speaking, don't start with a speech in front of thousands of people. Begin by speaking in front of 3 friends, then 10, then 50. Each small victory over fear builds your confidence muscle. And over time, what once seemed impossible becomes routine. As Hill stated, whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. Repeat this mantra whenever you feel fear. My mind is more powerful than any temporary fear. Say it out loud. My mind is more powerful than any temporary fear. Because that's the truth. Fear is temporary, but the benefits of overcoming it are permanent. And that's what we'll talk about in the next point, because there's a concrete technique you can implement today to transform every failure into a springboard towards success. The third principle for making failure your greatest teacher is the power of positive autosuggestion. Napoleon Hill discovered that the subconscious mind doesn't distinguish between what's real and what's imaginary, between truth and falsehood. Your subconscious simply accepts and acts according to the thoughts you repeatedly feed it. Most people, after a failure, internally repeat destructive messages. I'm a failure. I'll never make it. I'm not good enough. And your mind, like an obedient computer, begins looking for evidence to confirm these beliefs, creating a self-fulfilling prophecy cycle. But what if, after each failure, you fed your mind different messages? This result isn't what I expected, but it brings me closer to my goal. Each failed attempt eliminates one incorrect path. My persistence is stronger than any temporary obstacle. Hill called it autosuggestion, and it's one of the most powerful tools he discovered in his study of successful people. As he said, any idea, plan, or purpose may be placed in the mind through repetition of thought. Have you noticed how some people seem to bounce back after failures that would have destroyed others? It's not coincidence or genetics. It's the result of systematic mental programming. They've trained their minds to extract gold from defeat. A perfect example is Abraham Lincoln. Before becoming one of America's most admired presidents, Lincoln faced a series of devastating failures. He went bankrupt in 2 businesses, lost 8 elections, and suffered a nervous breakdown. But instead of seeing himself as a failure, Lincoln saw each defeat as preparation for a greater responsibility. To implement positive autosuggestion in your life, create a specific statement to transform each failure. For example, every obstacle makes me stronger, wiser, and brings me closer to my ultimate goal. Repeat this affirmation in the morning when you wake up and at night before you sleep, when your subconscious mind is most receptive. But it's not enough to just say the words, you must feel them, believe them, visualize the truth behind them. As Hill explained, faith is the head chemical which, when mixed with prayer, gives one direct communication with infinite intelligence. Do this exercise. Take your most recent failure and write down 5 specific benefits you've gained from that experience. They can be lessons learned, skills developed, even people you've met as a result. Do it now. This practice trains your mind to automatically look for the benefit in every adversity. Here's an additional trick. When facing a failure, immediately ask yourself, how can I use this? This question reorients your mind from victimization toward empowerment. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Ask, how can I use this to my advantage? The quality of your questions determines the quality of your life. Remember, your subconscious mind is like a fertile garden. It will grow whatever you plant in it. Plant doubts and fears, and you'll harvest failure. Plant confidence and positive lessons, and you'll harvest inevitable success. As Hill said, what your mind can conceive and believe, your mind can achieve. If this content is proving valuable to you, don't forget to like the video and share it with someone who needs to hear this message. Together, we can create a movement of people who see failure correctly, not as an executioner, but as a mentor. And that's what we'll talk about in the next point, because there's a defined pattern in how extraordinary people process failure, and it's within your reach to master it. The fourth principle for transforming failure into your ally is understanding the power of the mastermind. Napoleon Hill discovered that the most powerful minds never operated in isolation. They always had a group of people who provided perspective, feedback, and support. When you fail alone, it's easy to fall into self-pity or denial. But when you have a group of people committed to your growth, you gain insight that would be impossible to achieve on your own. As Hill said, no human mind is self-sufficient. The stimulation which drives the mind to activity comes from without through the five senses. Have you noticed that sometimes you need to explain your problem to someone else to see the solution that was right in front of you all along? That's because articulating your thoughts activates different parts of your brain, and when other minds contribute their unique perspectives, the possibilities multiply exponentially. Your mastermind members can see blind spots that you can't see. They can offer wisdom based on their own experiences with failure, and most importantly, they can sustain you emotionally when the weight of failure seems too much to bear alone. Do this exercise. Identify 3 people in your life who are positive, growth-oriented, and genuinely interested in your success. Ask them to form part of your personal board to help you process failures and extract lessons. Meet with them regularly to share challenges, celebrate victories, and plan strategically. But choose carefully. As Hill warned, we are influenced by those with whom we associate most closely. Surround yourself with people who constantly complain, who see failure as a final sentence, and you'll start adopting that mindset. Surround yourself with resilient people who see opportunities in every obstacle, and you'll absorb that perspective. The key is to be vulnerable and open with your mastermind. Many people hide their failures out of shame or fear of judgment, but as Hill said, strength and growth come only through continuous effort and struggle. By openly sharing your struggles, you not only receive the collective wisdom of your group, but also inspire others with your courage. A powerful example is the relationship between Henry Ford and Thomas Edison. These two giants formed an informal mastermind, sharing ideas, challenges, and failures with each other. Ford, after his first business failure, could have abandoned his dream. But with Edison's support and perspective, he was able to see his failure as a necessary step toward the transportation revolution he would eventually create. Ask yourself, do you have people in your life who can be brutally honest with you, but from a place of love and support? If not, it's time to find them. Failure processed in community becomes collective wisdom. Failure processed in isolation often becomes bitterness. Remember this mantra. My shared failures become lessons for many. My hidden failures only teach me. Repeat it. My shared failures become lessons for many. My hidden failures only teach me. And that's what we'll talk about in the next point, because there's one final and crucial mental transformation you must make to truly turn failure into your springboard to greatness. The fifth principle, and perhaps the most powerful, is developing what Napoleon Hill called a definite purpose mind. It's the difference between seeing failure as an isolated event or as part of a larger journey toward a goal that burns within you. When you have a definite purpose, a why that's strong enough, every failure simply becomes an obstacle in the path, never a reason to quit. As Hill said, persistence is born of the intensity of desire. Most people fail and give up because they never clearly defined what they really wanted in the first place. They have vague desires, diffuse hopes, but not a burning purpose. And without that internal fire, the first wind of adversity extinguishes their motivation. Think about this. Have you ever noticed how people with a clear mission seem to have inexhaustible energy? How they can get up after blows that would have destroyed others, It's not because they don't feel the pain of failure, they feel it just like you do. It's because their vision of the future is stronger than any temporary pain in the present. Hill explained it this way: the burning desire to be, to do, and to have propels persistence to realization. When you want something with every fiber of your being, failures become merely information about what doesn't work, never reasons to give up. Do this exercise now. Close your eyes and imagine achieving your biggest goal in detail. How do you feel? Who is with you? What are you saying to yourself? Experience the emotion, the satisfaction, the pride. Now, with that feeling still alive, ask yourself, will it be worth facing the inevitable failures along the way to experience this? The answer is almost always a resounding yes. Napoleon Hill discovered that extraordinary people have a unique ability. They can keep their vision of the future so vivid and emotionally charged that present failures lose their power over them. As he said, whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe, it can achieve. An inspiring example is the story of Walt Disney, who suffered multiple bankruptcies and rejections before creating his empire. He was even fired from a newspaper because he lacked imagination. But Disney had such a clear vision of what he wanted to create that each failure simply refined his focus, never deterred him from his course. To develop this definite purpose mind, you must turn your goal into more than an intellectual desire. It must become an obsession that informs every decision you make. As Hill advised, fix in your mind the exact amount of money you desire. It is not sufficient to say, "I want plenty of money." Be definite. This precision applies to any goal: health, relationships, impact. Define exactly what you want, why you want it, and by when you want it. This crystal clarity will become your compass through the inevitable failures along the way. Here's a daily practice to strengthen your purpose. Every morning, write down your main goal and 3 specific actions you'll take that day to move toward it. Every night, review your progress and celebrate victories, no matter how small. As Hill noted, every victory, no matter how small, strengthens your confidence and forges the habit of success. Over time, you'll notice something extraordinary. Your definition of failure will change. What you once saw as a devastating failure, you'll now see as a necessary detour. What once paralyzed you with fear will now seem like a small bump in the road. As Hill said, most great achievements came out of even greater problems. Repeat this mantra whenever you face a failure. This obstacle exists not to stop me, but to teach me what I need to know for my future greatness. Say it now. This obstacle exists not to stop me, but to teach me what I need to know for my future greatness. If you've made it this far, congratulations. You've demonstrated the kind of commitment that separates dreamers from doers. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and hit the bell to receive content like this that can transform your life. Now let's bring all these pieces together to understand the complete truth about failure and fear. The path to greatness has never been a straight line. It's filled with unexpected detours, dead ends, and painful falls. But as you now understand, every failure contains the seed of an equivalent benefit if you have the wisdom to find it. The fear of failure is natural. It's part of our survival instinct. But in the modern world, this mechanism that once protected us from physical dangers now keeps us trapped in mediocrity. As Napoleon Hill said, indecision is the seedling of fear. When you learn to see every failure as a teacher, to reprogram your mind to find opportunities in every obstacle, to surround yourself with people who elevate your perspective, and to maintain a burning purpose in your heart, you become unstoppable. Not because you won't fail, you'll fail many more times, but because each failure will strengthen you instead of weakening you. As Hill said, strength comes from struggle, physical, mental, and spiritual. We become strong through effort. Remember, the giants of success aren't those who never fell, but those who got up one more time than their rivals. Thomas Edison, Henry Ford, Walt Disney, Abraham Lincoln, all faced failures that would have destroyed ordinary people. What made them extraordinary was their ability to extract lessons from every fall, and that ability isn't a magical gift or an innate talent. It's a skill that you can develop starting today using the principles we've discussed. As Hill stated, all achievement, all earned riches, have their beginning in an idea. Today you have the idea that failure can become your most powerful ally. Now, what will you do with it? I challenge you to write now in the comments, "I choose to make failure my teacher, not my executioner. Every obstacle brings me closer to my greatness." By declaring it publicly, you're planting a seed of commitment that will blossom into concrete results. This is the moment to decide. Will you continue to see failure, like most people, as something to avoid at all costs? Or will you join the minority who have discovered the secret, that the path to greatness is paved with well-utilized failures? The choice is yours, and your decision will determine not only what you'll achieve, but who you'll become in the process. If this message resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Knowledge not applied has no power, but when shared, it can change lives. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and hit the bell so you don't miss the next video where we'll continue exploring the principles that drive extraordinary success. Until next time, remember, failure isn't your enemy, it's your most sincere teacher.